Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman. Now I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. Now, after a very busy week and being sick, I'm behind on a few things, and I saw a movie just over a week ago that I was very, very interested in seeing. It is a remake of a 1989 film that I was a big fan of, that is written by Stephen King based off of a book that he wrote. That is one of my all-time favorite King books, and there are some major changes in this movie that deviate from the original story and the original movie. So much so that I was nervous going in. I was like, oh man, did they mess this up? Like, this is one of my favorite stories. So the big question is, does the Seaman think this movie is good or bad? Well, why don't we find out, man? Pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into Pet Sematary. And as I said, this is a remake of the 1989 movie that is based on the Stephen King novel. And for those unfamiliar with Pet Sematary, it follows the Creed family, mom, dad, two little kids, as they move into a new house to kind of settle down. You know, the dad's a doctor. He wants to be around his family more, so he gets a job at the local college. And they meet their neighbor, Judd, who kind of informs them, like, you gotta be real careful, man. This road is like a throughway for an oil company. And these 18-wheelers, they just come flying up and down the street all the time. So be really, really careful. And from there, we find out that on the back of their property, there is this pet cemetery, a cemetery where kids have buried their pets for generations. And as we start to go down that route, we find out interesting things about the pet cemetery, but more specifically, interesting things that are beyond the pet cemetery, where a burial ground is that kind of allows things that were once dead to come back to the living. And I'd say right from the original story, man, King plays in a lot of interesting areas. He has a lot of interesting discussions about death. And when I went to this movie, I was nervous. I knew that there was a major twist to one of the characters. And ultimately, I thought it worked, man. This is an adaptation. And when you adapt something, sometimes you change stuff. You change small things to increase, in a movie like this, the horror or the suspense or the terror. Or to, add on to what's been done in the past and deliver something that's a little bit new, a little fresh. And yes, there is a major tweak. I will list this as a spoiler, although it's kind of portrayed pretty obviously in the trailers. But in the original book, in the 1989 movie, of the two children, Gage is the youngest, he's about 4, and Ellie is about 10 or 11. And in the book, in the original movie, Gage ends up getting hit by one of these trucks. In this movie, it's Ellie. And for me, I think that worked unbelievably well. Look, Gage is creepy. In the book, it's written in a very scary way. And in the movie, he comes off, he certainly gets you to jump a few times, but visually, it's kind of cartoonish. He kind of looks like Chucky because he's so small. Switching it to Ellie, I just think makes sense in all sorts of ways because Ellie is older. She's more intelligent. She's able to have conversations about death, both pre-incident and post-incident. And those conversations, they're more interesting, and the terror and the horror in the movie is more effective because Ellie is scarier than Gage could ever be. So I dug that. And yes, there was another twist at the end of the movie that deviates a lot from the book, but I thought also worked, man. It created a darker, creepier, far grimmer ending than we were familiar with. And in the horror world, I'm okay with that. I don't think that's going to work for everybody. It'll probably rub some people the wrong way, especially how the ultimate end is. I bet you there are a lot of people out there like, if you would have ended that like 30 to 60 seconds earlier, I might have been more okay with this movie. Like, you're going to a horror film, man. Mess me up, man. Just throw stuff at me that I'm like, damn, and that's what they do here. I think that works really, really well. And you have to give credit to the directors, Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer, and the writer, Matt Greenberg, for being able to take material and change it, deliver it in a way that's new and fresh that I think works, while also staying true to what the story is. Yes, it's different than the book, it's different than the movie, but the essence of those is all over this movie. This movie is also filled with Easter eggs and nods to the original book and the original movie. There are so many sequences and scenes that we see where you're like, that's right off the page, or that's right from the old movie, or okay, this is very familiar, but it's tweaked in a small way. And all of those tweaks just add to the suspension, add to the horror. And I thought that Greenberg does a really good job in that sense when it comes to the writing. And I think Kolsch and Widmeyer do a really good job of just building really, really wonderful images that are true to the story and are just creepy to look at, man. The scenes and the sets they build and the way they play with things from Pet Sematary to the houses, when the things are starting to go crazy. It all just builds really good suspense and tension and gets that stuff going a lot earlier than the original movie. 89, it's a slow build, and this one is too. But 89, you really don't get to the scary stuff until the very end of the movie. Here, there's scary stuff being introduced the whole way where you're just constantly kind of like inching up on the edge of your seat because this thing is getting creepier and creepier. And as I said, man, they changed some of the things. And the ending, I think, is way darker and grimmer. So I thought that worked. In the book, in the original movie, the family kind of ends up in two places. Here they keep them centralized to just the one. And that I thought worked really well, specifically for the mother, Rachel. Her story is drastically improved. And really, in this movie, delivers the best horror elements, because of her story with her sister. Yes, it's changed, but it's changed in a way where it's still true to the essence. And what you're watching on screen is literally terrifying. So I think overall, they do a good job in that realm, and then throw in really solid performances from really solid actors. Everybody in the movie plays everything really, really well. I like the way they adapted some of the sequences. I like the way that they deliver the material that they're given. But there are three people in this movie specifically that really stand out far more than everyone else. And it starts with Mr. John Lithgow, who's just a legend. He's always amazing. And he's excellent here. I really like the way that they built his relationship to the Creeds. I kind of found it to be an even stronger bond that made more sense. Than the old movie. And it delivers his relationship with the family in a way where you can understand his motivations because of how he feels about Ellie. Again, making Ellie the more centralized focal point between the kids. It makes more sense. It builds a stronger foundation. And because of the relationship Judd has with her, it makes sense on why he does certain things that he does. And then we learn a little bit more about Judd's personal story that makes you understand his motivations toward the end of the movie. And John Lithgow just delivers it all in a wonderful way. You really are unsure about Judd, which is important because it keeps you off balance. He's really good at that. But when he kind of wins you over, he wins you over a lot. And you really do kind of fall in love with Judd's character, which adds to what happens in the back half of the movie. Then there's their dad, Lewis, played by Jason Clarke. He's fantastic, man. I thought he really encompassed a lot of things that are very, very true to who Louis Creed is. And he just gets that, and he delivers a really strong performance as the dad in this movie. I love the scene where he's in the hospital and the kid who gets kind of clipped by a truck comes in. That stuff plays really well. His relationship and moments with Ellie and his family as things are kind of unfolding, and his relationship with Judd. I just think Jason Clarke delivers really, really good material all throughout. But the winner of this movie is Jete Lawrence, who plays Ellie. Oh my goodness, man. This girl is terrifying. The whole movie, man. She is just wonderful. I was completely blown away by her. I thought she crushed it. And she being so good in the movie is why I was really okay with all the changes that they made to the story, because she is awesome. When you get to the third act, what's going down with her is horrifying, and there are really, really creepy moments. There are nice callbacks from earlier in the film. There's a sequence where you find out that Ellie likes to dance, and how they incorporate that from the beginning to the back half of the movie. You're just sitting there and you're like, oh man, bad things are happening. And I thought it functioned so much better than it ever did for Gage. And it's because her performance is just so rock solid. Like I said, she's intelligent. The conversations that she has with Lewis, her dad, about death are very, very intriguing. And I think Jete Lawrence nails that stuff. So overall, yes, the pacing stumbles a couple times in this movie, and there are changes to the story, but I think those changes work. And ultimately, even if some of the scares don't land as big as you want them, and like I said, some of the pacing is off, overall, you have a pretty steady, solid horror film that's just constantly building and building. And when you get to your peak, man, the train comes off the rails, and this thing is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. I like that it got darker, and that it pulled on the tension and suspense the way that it needed to. So for me, Pet Sematary, the remake, it's a win, man. I was a big fan, and like I said, even Stephen King gave it his stamp of approval. Yeah, it's different, man, but it holds true to the core of the story and delivers really, really scary imagery that's both new and story accurate to the original. There are things that happen where you're like, that's right out of the book. That's right out of the old movie. And I liked all that stuff. So overall, the Seaman dug Pet Sematary. The question is, did you? Now it's your turn, man. Go hit those comments down below. Let me know what you're thinking about Pet Sematary 2019. Are you familiar with the book, the original movie, both? Did you like the twist? Did you not like the twist? Did you think the movie was scary at all? Was it scarier than the original? Did the things that they do work? Did some of the imagery they show you win you over enough that you were okay with the twist because they were very accurate in other moments? Leave all that down below. If you haven't seen Pet Sematary, has the Seaman enticed you? I certainly hope I have, because like I said, I dug Pet Sematary a lot, and if you're a fan of the original stuff, I think there's enough in here that you'll be able to get on board with that. You should go check it out. So there you go, man. Leave all those down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, you want to come along, follow all the Seaman adventures, go hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you get alerts every time I make a new video. For the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, I am the Seaman, and I am signing off. Peace. Well. If you aren't still here, looking for something else to check out that's Seaman related, why don't you check out a video like this guy or this guy? And if you really want to help the Seaman out in year 2, hit that subscribe button and come join the Cinema Sit Down Squad, kids. You know what to do. See ya.